With the NBA currently not happening at the moment, we can create any lineup that we wish and say what we think about it. From the greatest lineup of all time to the greatest current lineup in the NBA today. But this time, we're going to go and see which starting five is the most underrated in every position, man. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Let's go. What's up, everybody? It's the Sports Code, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be what I believe is the NBA most underrated starting five today. This is not going to be of all time. This is just going to be in the NBA today. So of course the rules are you must still be playing and you must be considered underrated. So of course, if you enjoy this video, if you enjoyed the concept of this video, man, go ahead, like and subscribe to the Sports Code YouTube channel, turn notifications on, share the video, share the playlist, and share with anybody that you think is interested in the game of basketball, man. It's a great, fun topic to discuss, and I hope to see some comments about what you think your starting five in terms of being underrated would be. And without further ado, we'll jump right into it, man. So the point guard position. How this usually works is I'm going to name the player and then I'll give honorable mentions afterwards. So the player that I believe is the most underrated player in the point guard position in the NBA today, and it stuns me that he's still underrated, is Kyle Lowry. The king of being underrated is Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors. I don't know how many times this guy was considered a bad player, not good enough. He's too fat, he's too skinny, all these things. But the guy is legit a pit bull in the basketball sense, man. He does everything. He's a great offensive player. He's their second leading scorer at this time. He's a very good assist facilitator. He's a very good team player. He's clearly a winner, and of course, he's a very well-rounded player, man. He's the definition of underrated in my eyes. People think just because Kawhi Leonard was on that team that they won the championship. And yes, that is true. Kawhi Leonard was on that team last season, and he's a big reason. He's the main reason why they won the championship. But if you take Kyle Lowry out of that team, that Toronto Raptors team doesn't win a championship. That's how much I think Kyle Lowry brought to that team. He was so good in these series, man. And he deserves a lot more respect than he gets. And yes, he's an all-star. He was an all-star this year. So people are recognizing his talents. But not nowhere near enough than what they should be. It's disrespectful, to be honest, how people treat Kyle Lowry in today's NBA. And I hope that things can change. And I think he's definitely probably the most underrated player in NBA today, behind the shooting guard, which we'll get to in a minute. So, honorable mentions: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the OKC Thunder. Of course, he has very mad potential. So, of course, he's going to be he's going to prove to many people that he's the real deal. He's exactly where he should be at the moment. CP3, Chris Paul, also from the OKC Thunder. The guy, after coming back from the Houston Rockets to OKC, being the dominant primary ball handler, he's shown that he's still got it. He's talented, and you got to respect him, man. And those are the honorable mentions that I'm going to give. I'm sure there are more. There's a fine line between overrated and underrated, which we'll get to at the end of the video. So let's go to the shooting guard position. This one was tough but easy at the same time, because it's between two players for me, Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. But I, for the life of me, cannot understand how people are disrespecting Bradley Beal. So that's who I'm going with, man. I'm going with Bradley Beal as the shooting guard in the most underrated players of all time team. Jason Tatum had said everything himself. This guy is a dog. He's deadly. People do not put respect on him because he plays for the Washington Wizards. That's the only reason why people think he's overrated, or they don't rate him as a player, or it's just because he's putting up points on a bad team. Whatever you say, you are disrespecting him completely, highly disrespecting him. Bradley Beal is he's averaging 30 points per game, man. You cannot say, I don't care what team you play for, if you're averaging 30 points per game, you're a good player. They don't give him enough respect. And that Bradley Beal with John Wall, that was a good Washington Wizards team. And again, just because this season he was playing with a bunch of people that were role players at best, not really great players that he was playing with, then they completely disregard him as a player. It's not right. It's not right at all. And I hope the Wizards are one of those teams. I hope they get better. But it might be time for a rebuild. And if Bradley Beal was the one to get traded, he would show up every single shooting guard that there is. He would show them up, and it would prove that he's one of the better shooting guards in the NBA. He's arguably in the top 3 best shooting guards in the NBA today. So stop disrespecting him. That's what I'm trying to say. He's underrated. He deserves more respect. He deserved to be an All-Star this year. And he got robbed, man. He got robbed. If there was anybody that I could have said got robbed, it would have been Bradley Beal, for sure. No complaints there. I hope you guys can agree with these first two. The honorable mention would be Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls, having an outstanding season. But again, the team that he plays for will obviously hinder what people think of him. And I think he's been very, very good this season. He's had his best season. And to be honest, the upside on this guy is incredible. He's going to be a fantastic player. I'm proud he's playing for the Bulls. I'm proud that future is here. Hopefully it stays here. Going into the small forward position, I mentioned this in a previous NBA video. I would never ever make an underrated NBA video without including this guy. And I know he's been considered a good player. He's been an All-Star this year, but I still think he's underrated. I still think people don't give him enough credit. And that person is Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, man. Chris Middleton is probably is tied up there with Bradley Beal as the most underrated player of all time. Just because he's second fiddle to Giannis, people think this guy's not a great player. You put him on his own team and he's averaging 30. I believe that. It's similar with Klay Thompson as well. And I would say Klay Thompson is underrated, but at the end of the day, Klay Thompson is he's a champion, and also people don't really underrate him anymore. They know what he does. Chris Middleton, people still sleep on this guy. People still think that he's not a threat. People still think that if Chris Middleton wasn't on this team, people still think Giannis would win a championship. And to be honest, nah, that's not happening. If Chris Middleton was not on that Bucks team, the Bucks would not win a championship. I believe that solely 100% with my heart. Even to the point, Giannis would agree that Chris Middleton's underrated. Everybody agrees that Chris Middleton's underrated. And I don't understand why people do it, man. Because at the end of the day, this guy's averaging, 22, 23 points per game. And he's a second option. And he's defensively very good as well. He gives you everything. He gives you passing as well, rebounding. He's a very good defender. He's a good passer. He plays the team game well. And he suits the Bucks to a key, man. And I feel bad that people decide that it's okay to underappreciate his talents, because the guy deserves more than what people give him. But there he is. That's considered one of the most underrated players. Now, the honorable mentions, to be honest, there's not really much for the small forward position that I would like to say. Jimmy Butler's a little bit underrated, but again, Klay Thompson as well, just because they're second fiddles. But Jimmy Butler, I wouldn't say he's underrated anymore. And yeah, man, it may be Iguodala from the Miami Heat, but again, he's getting up there in age. There's not much to say for an honorable mention, but we'll leave it at that, because the power forward position is another one with a bunch of honorable mentions. And so let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. So, honorable start for the power forward. I'm going with Domantas Sabonis from the Indiana Pacers. Now, the reason I say this guy's underrated is, yes, he was an all-star again. These guys are all all-stars. But just because the guy doesn't start every game, people think he's not a good player. And it's happened in numerous teams. The amount of people that say that don't start, right? They don't start the game all the time. But they put up the stats, they put up the numbers, they put up a great, fantastic year. But, because they only started 40 games this year, that's it. They're not a good player. They don't deserve to be in any starting 5 list at all. They're just role players. They're bench warmers. No. Domantas Sabonis is the exception, and there's another guy that I want to mention as well that is an exception to this. Domantas Sabonis could have been 6th man of the year if he stayed on the bench, but the guy has started a lot of games this year. This guy could have been most improved as well. You cannot say that he's had a bad season. An all-star An all-star appearance demonstrates what a fantastic season he's had, but still people don't give him credit. People don't give him more credit than what he deserves. You just have to watch a Pacers game, and you will know this guy is a very well-rounded player. Besides Oladipo, this guy's their leader, and he's their best player. So you have to consider that he's underrated, man, because that Pacers team is a hell of a team. And without Victor Oladipo, guess who's been carrying the reins to that team? Domantas Sabonis, man. And you gotta give him credit for that. That Indiana Pacers team without Oladipo was considered 8th seed fiddle, garbage. But look where they are. They're not the 8th seed. They're doing so well. And now they have Oladipo back. I would love to see these two play together at their best, and they could probably make some really, really loud noise in the playoffs. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not a big fan of the Pacers as a whole because obviously there's history with the Bulls and the Pacers, but at this time, I like their team, man, and I like the direction they're heading in, and I'm sure the Pacers fans like it too. And they would agree with me with this one. Honorable mention, Davis Mertens, or Mertens, whatever you like to say, from the Washington Wizards, the sharpshooter from the Washington Wizards. I just watched a highlight video of this guy before I even recorded this, and he's a monster, man. He's a very good shooter. He's averaging 15 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.7 assists. The guy's shooting 40% from the field and 42% from three-point range. Great numbers, man. He takes 8 threes per game. Shout out to my friend Jordan who helped me with this one, by the way. This was a very... I didn't know much about this guy, but doing more research, you could just tell that this guy is a fan favorite for Washington Wizards. They clearly love him, and he would be a great asset for any team. And the Washington Wizards have a good one there, and if they can keep their core with him, then there might be something you can talk about. But yeah, he's a great player, and he deserves an honorable mention for underrated because people do not even know who this guy is. It's as simple as that. I could guarantee you there's at least 10% of the audience watching, or 10% of the NBA people that know and talk about the NBA that do not know who this guy is. And I hope that they'll start to wake up and realize that this guy's for real, man. He's a deadly shooter, and this is only his second season, so things could really, really start to pick up for him. I hope things pick up for him. And there we go. That's the power forward position, honorable mention. Center. This guy is also the key for being underrated, man. Just because he doesn't start, people think that he's not a good player. People think that he's not any good, but people think he's overrated, if anything. And I'm going to show you guys right now who this guy is. From the Los Angeles Clippers, this guy is Montrezl Harrell, man. Now, from last year to this year, he's had a big improvement. And he's been consistently improving every single year he's been in the NBA. And that's impressive, man. But come on. Who in their right mind would say that Montrezl Harrell is not their best center? I know Zubac is a very good rebounder and he's tall and he provides a different option. But Montrezl Harrell is so underrated. Just because he's on the bench, people think he's not a great player. Open your eyes, man. Watch the games. I'll tell you a game to go watch the Chicago Bulls versus the LA Clippers. Go watch what he did to the Chicago Bulls with a center that's considered very consistent, averaging nearly a double-double at Wendell Carter. Go watch what Montrezl Harrell did. A very undersized center, and he dominated. He bullied. He was aggressive. He dropped 30. He was phenomenal. And all you have to see is that game to know that this guy is more than just a backup center. He's more than just second fiddle to Zubac. He's more than that, and people know this. A lot of, I would say he's probably the one where if you had to pick someone that everybody would say is not underrated, Montrezl Harrell is the one. But I'm putting him in here just because there are so many biased fans and there are so many unknowledgeable fans that would just say, since he's not starting, he's not a good player. Since he's not starting, he's not he's overrated. He's just a bench warmer. Go look at his stats first of all. That's the first thing I have to say. Go look at the way he plays. The guy's a monster. He's a bully. He's a truck. He pushes everybody out of his way. Just because he's undersized doesn't mean he can't get these balls. He can't play good defense. He's a very good defensive player. Offensively, he has a very good post game. He can shoot the mid range, and yeah, he's a great player, man, and underrated for sure. And the honorable mention for me, Mitchell Robertson from the New York Knicks. That's a good one as well. He's had a very good season. We've seen him on many other teams not really have an opportunity to play well. But for the New York Knicks, getting the starting role, he's been phenomenal. I think he's helped the Knicks out a lot, really, because the Knicks looks hopeless, but they're getting some decent games out of him, and they're getting some decent victories as well. They're still not a good team, don't get me wrong. They're still one of the worst teams in the East, but I think he's done very, very well. And I'm going to say this, even though he was an all-star, I'm going to say Bam Adebayo as well as an honorable mention. Solely because I think for the level that he's at, people don't think he's at the top level just yet. People think he's on his way. I think he's already at the top level. I think if you just look at the way he plays, if you just look at he's so unique. He's very fast for his size. He can dribble the ball. He's the modern day center personification. He's similar to an Anthony Davis in a way. The guy can shoot. He's very athletic. And I think he's one of the best centers in the NBA today, but people don't give him that sort of level of credit. But he's an honorable mention because he was an all-star, and everybody knows the Bam Adebayo, there's a lot of hype around him. So I don't want to go and say he's underrated when there's hype around him. So clearly people don't think he's underrated. But yeah, that's going to be my starting 5 for the most underrated players in the NBA today. So disregarding the honorable mentions, we're just going to go straight to the starting 5. So the starting 5, point guard Kyle Lowry, shooting guard Bradley Beal, small forward Chris Middleton, power forward Domantas Sabonis, and center Montrezl Harrell. That seems like a good team to me. I think if you put that team in, they're going to be if you put that team together, they will top the East, and they'd probably get very close to topping the West as well. Fantastic players there. I believe that with them growing together, that could be a championship team. If they were all on the same team and they would grow together, watch out, man. Dangerous team right there. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of the NBA Starting 5 series. So, I want to thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. What do you guys think, man? And also let me know if you have any replacements, if you have any disagreements. Let me know in the comments, man. And also let me know your underrated starting 5 in the NBA today. Also, coming up next, there's a fine line between underrated and overrated players in the NBA. For example, Carmelo Anthony, right? Carmelo Anthony is considered both underrated by many fans and overrated by many fans. It's a very fine line between the two. So, making this video, people could think some of these players are overrated. To that point, we'll see. That's all up to you. That's all fan opinion. That's all what you want to think. And you have your rights to think that. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. But, in the next video, I'm going to look at the 5 players that I think are overrated and give my reasons why. And I hope you guys buckle up and enjoy that video just like you enjoyed this one. Have a wonderful and safe day. Take care and peace.